All right, what is up, everybody? We are back with another edition of Everyday Hoops. Hope you guys are having a good one. Today, I'm going to be giving my top 25 players under 25. There's a list that happens all the time. We talk about some of the best young players in the game, 25 under 25. I'm going to be giving my personal 25 under 25 here in today's video. Thank you guys for the views on the videos and the shorts recently. I really appreciate it. If you do like the content around here, consider subscribing, liking, turn on notifications, doing all stuff like that. I'd really appreciate it. It really helps out a lot. Links to my Twitter and all that stuff down in the description below. And yeah, don't waste any more of your time. Let's get right into it. Starting the list at number 25, we have Zachary Rashad from the Hawks, the number one overall pick back in 2024. He's number 25 in the list. For this list, I'll quickly explain my kind of criteria, my things that I made for this list. Is basically I tried to take a combination of what they are right now, how good they are right now, and what their realistic ceiling is. So there's some guys that are on this list, which some guys that maybe are already better right now than what some of these guys on the list are. But I think some of the guys on the list, their ceiling is higher. So like I'll explain as things go on. But I have Versace at 25. I really like Zachary's rookie year. I really do. I think he's probably the least talked about number one overall pick because he's probably maybe the least like fun and I guess like really hyped up number one pick we've seen in a very long time. I gave you 12 points, 3 rebounds per game last year, 35% shooting from three, starting almost every game for the Hawks. But I really like Versace. I really think he's only 25 in this list. I feel like I put him this low because his ceiling isn't as high. Like I don't think he's ever going to be like a superstar or a top All NBA type of guy. But I do think Versace is going to be a really good starter in this league. Like I really like his fit with the Atlanta Hawks, his fit next to Trae Young and them. And you saw it as a rookie early on. Like he already has elite kind of like role player, winning player type qualities where I feel like he's in the right spots at a lot of the right times. Being a 6'8" guy that can shoot the ball confidently, a really solid defender, has shown a little bit of ability here and there to put the ball on the floor and go make shots and get shots for himself. But I don't think he really has to be like he doesn't have to be a 25-point per game scorer. If he can just be a really good wing next a two-way, really good two-way starting wing next to Trae Young and be a guy that can give you about 18, 19 on good efficiency while also being a solid defender, like that's a really good player in this league. Like he's a guy that maybe could be a one-time, two-time All-Star if the Hawks are really good at one point and he's really contributing. I really like what Zachary Rashad is as a player, and I really like what he can be down the line in the future. Again, I only put him this low because I don't think his ceiling is super high as a lot of other guys on this list, but I do think he's going to be a really good NBA player. At 24, we have Jared McCain from the 76ers at 21 years old. McCain had a little flash as a rookie, averaging 15 points per game last year on 38% shooting from three. Unfortunately, only played in 23 games before getting hurt. And he was a very interesting guy to rank on this list as well because he realistically only had about like 12, 13-ish games where he really was like that guy. Like he didn't really get a big chance to really show off who he was. He really only had he had a 12-game stretch where he averaged 22 points per game on almost 40% shooting from three. He was putting up 25, 30-point games and all that stuff before going down with injury. So he was interesting to rank because it's like, yes, you see the little flash he had where he was really, really good, but also how much can we really rank a young player with all these young guys? Where do I put him when we only really got like a 12-game stretch of him being actually like what he can be? Adding in to the fact as well that he didn't have Maxey or Embiid for a lot of those games too. So it's very interesting, but he still ends up making the list at 24 because I feel like at his very least, he's just going to be a really good, two guard that can shoot and score. Like he's already shown, like coming into the draft, he was one of the better shooters in his class in 2024. He's already shown he's going to be as good 3-point shooter with, a kind of, mentored by Steph Curry a little bit. You saw the videos of him like watching Steph Curry and seeing what he does. But also his ability to put the ball on the floor and score was really surprising early on as a rookie. We got a lot more opportunity than I think he thought or everybody thought he was going to get. And he came out and played very, very well. And now you think of him, he's only 20 years old, just turned 21 actually. And he has potential to be an all-star like player, depending on how things go with the 76ers. A two guard that can shoot the ball well, can score, can be a point guard and be a playmaker a little bit if he needs to. He's shown the ability to make the right pass at certain points. So like I think McCain is going to be a really solid player in this league and a really good player in this league. Again, I put him a little bit lower in the list, maybe just because it was such a small sample size that I didn't want to put him way, way so high, and then we come into next year and he's not at that level, or he's in a little bit more of a reduced role. But I do think he's going to get a solid opportunity next year, and I think he's going to be really good. At 23, we have Christian Braun from the Denver Nuggets at 24 years old. Braun had a really, really good season last year, like kind of an MVP type of season. And we've seen the progression of him as the years go on, where he came in as a rookie as more of an energy guy coming off the bench a little bit and won a championship with the Nuggets. Then his second season where he played all 82 games, became an actual like fixture in the rotation as a 7-8 man, still being an energy guy that brought a lot of defense and hustle. And then we saw he had to get thrown into a starting lineup role with KCP leaving, and he did a lot better than expected. I mean, give you 15 points, 5 rebounds, a steal per game, shot 58% from the field, 39% from three. He was really, really good in those stretch of games. And, well, the entirety of last season, he was really, really good. And so you think about what Braun potentially could be. I think he's a little bit lower because I personally don't believe his ceiling is that much higher than what he is right now. Like, he definitely could get a couple more points in. He definitely could be a little bit more of a shooter at some points. But I don't think he's going to be like an all-star like player. But I do think with what we've seen of how much he's improved year after year after year, where he jumped from being 4 points to 7 points to 15 points last year. Well, how much work he's put in, who knows? Maybe he does jump to an 18, 19 point per game score this year for the Nuggets. Maybe he does. He's still 24 years old. I like his game. He brings a lot of heart and energy and hustle. Really solid defender. Just a really good cutter. Just knows how to play in the system with the Nuggets. Plays off Jokic really well. It's really his only thing is if he could become more of a confident 3-point shooter. Because last year he shot 39%, but he only took a little bit less than 3 per game. And his numbers haven't been bad. We know teams are going to let him shoot threes, but I think if you become a more confident and take about 4 or 5 and make around the same clip as what he's doing right now, I think he becomes even more valuable as one of the better, complementary wing guys in the league. So I think Christian Braun's solid. Again, I don't think his ceiling is super crazy high than what it is right now. Like, I don't think he's ever going to be like a 20-something point per game type of scorer in this league. But with how much he's grown year after year after year, who's to say that he can't get to that point at one point in his career, At 22, we have Dylan Harper from the Spurs at 19 years old. It was very tough putting rookies on this list because, again, I try to make it a combination of what you are right now and what your realistic ceiling can be. And Dylan Harper has not played an NBA minute yet. So this is definitely this one is more of a projection type of pick. But I do think Dylan Harper is too good to be left off this list for me personally. I think Dylan Harper has a lot of potential. Like if Cooper Flag wasn't in this draft class and he actually was at Duke this year and stayed in his original class, Dylan Harper would have been the no doubt number 1 overall pick for me. Like I think he's really good at 6'5" guard that is super smooth, has his own pace to his game, can get to the rim really, really well, play mix well, can shoot well. Like I think Dylan Harper has like star written all over him. And I'm a big fan of Dylan Harper, and that's why I put him on this list at all, but also above the guys like Brown, McCain, Versace, but also not super high because, again, we haven't seen him play an NBA minute yet. So I didn't want to put him in the top, 15 or whatever when we haven't seen him play a game yet. So you had to kind of limit expectations a little bit, but I still think he has a higher ceiling than the guys below him that I think he can be for sure an all-star, multiple-time all-star level player in the league. Like I'm very excited to watch Dylan Harper grow, especially with a Spurs team that already has a lot of good young players, and we're going to see a lot more of their players on this list in the next couple minutes. Dylan Harper is really good. Like I'm a big fan of Dylan Harper. I think he's going to be really good in this league. I think he just has too much potential to not put him on this list. At 21, I have Stefan Castle from the Spurs at 20 years old. Castle won Rookie of the Year last year. I said you can go back and watch my, draft 2024 draft predictions and grades and all that stuff. And I said a couple times, even during the season where I talked about the Spurs and talked about Castle, I think by the time it's said and done, he will be the best player in that 2024 class. And he was the best rookie in that class, give you 14, 3, and 4. Didn't shoot the ball efficiently, but as a 20-year-old, 20-year-olds don't shoot the ball efficiently that often. So, like, I'm not super shocked. I'm not putting that as a downside of Castle. I think eventually it's going to get better. But I think Stefan Castle just has the makings of being a really good all-star like player in this league. He has the size and the body and the athleticism already of being a 6'6" guy that is super, super athletic with a stocky body and just does so many different things on the court. Already shown, even since college, he was a winning player where he can be a point guard and handle the ball and make the right passes and plays. He can also be off the ball and he can get to the rim and score. He defends really well, takes pride in the defensive side of the ball. The only question really is the 3-point shot and how well that's going to be. And last year, didn't shoot the ball super well from three, but we know that's going to be something that has to get better in his game. But I do think if he does become a good 3-point shooter, not even good, if he becomes a solid 3-point shooter, I think Castle's going to be just like one of the best, not one of the best players in the league, but he's going to be one of the like most coveted kind of guard style players in the league, where he's going to be in all-star conversations all the time. He's going to be a guy that could put in any different position and make it work. He's going to be really, really good, and he's going to contribute to a lot of winning. I think that's going to be a big thing too. He's going to be a guy that you put on the court, and no matter where you put him at, you're going to feel comfortable with him anywhere. Especially now he's with Dylan Harper and Victor Wembanyama and that young nucleus. I think it's only going to help him grow and get better as well. I'm a huge fan of Stefan Castle. I think he's going to be an amazing player in the league. I think he does have a high ceiling. I think the ceiling maybe gets capped off a little bit only because you do now have Dylan Harper as a guard, and that guard duo, it's going to take the ball out of Castle's hands a little bit more. But I do still believe a lot in Stefan Castle. At 20, I have Brandon Miller from the Charlotte Hornets at 22 years old. Brandon Miller, I like Brandon Miller a lot. He had a really fun rookie year. Last year, he showed a lot of flashes. He only played in 27 games, unfortunately, due to injury. But he averaged 21, 5, and 3 with a steal in those 27 games. Didn't shoot the ball super efficiently, but then again, you also see he takes 11 3-pointers a game. So I'm not expecting someone taking that many threes to shoot 40%, obviously. But he's a guy that shoots the ball a lot, scores, has a lot of potential. The only thing that I can piss him low, because originally I had him a little bit higher on this list, but the only thing that brings me down a little bit lower than some of the guys above him is that we haven't seen a whole lot of like the other things. Well, he can shoot the ball, we know he can score, we know he has potential there. But the big question is, what is he going to be a good defender? Is he going to be a good passer? Can he make that right reads? What else can he provide to the game if his shot isn't falling? That's the thing that we're really looking at for Brandon Miller, which is why I put him a little bit lower, because the guys above him do a little bit more than that, or already established as scorers, like the guys above Brandon Miller. But I still am a fan of Brandon Miller. I think, again, he has a lot of scoring potential, shooting potential, being a 6'9" forward that can also be the 2 that can hit 6, 7 threes in a game, that can get to the rim and dunk on you, can handle the ball a little bit. It's really the big make or break is going to be the passing ability. Not saying he has to average 8 assists because you have LaMelo Ball on the team, but just being able to make the right play and being able to use his scoring and shooting ability to make plays for others. And if he can figure that out in the league, then I think he's going to be an all-star like player. Like, I still think he has a really high ceiling, which is why I put him this high. But again, we haven't seen flashes of the other things yet. That puts him a little bit lower than some of the guys above him. But I do think Brandon Miller has a high ceiling. I just hope that we get a healthy year from him this year. At 19, we have Jalen McDaniels from the Minnesota Timberwolves at 24 years old. McDaniels has a lot of potential. I feel like he's been this. I've talked about McDaniels a lot as a breakout candidate, all this stuff the past couple years, and we already know he's an elite, all defensive type player. Somehow, I don't think he made all defensive this year, but he's an all defensive, one of the best perimeter defenders in the game right now. And that already puts him on this list. Even though his numbers don't stick out, like there's guys below him that we already talked about that have put up more points per game or maybe have like flashier numbers than what McDaniels does. But the impact he makes on the defensive end is so huge. And you saw at the end of the season last year, near the second half of the year, his scoring went up. Like he had some moments where he really shined in the scoring department when Julius Randle was out and all that stuff. Like he started to score, which is something that we saw flashes of him earlier in his career. We saw flashes of him potentially being a two-way, scoring type guy, but we just haven't seen it all come together yet. The last 34 games of the year last year, he averaged 14 points on 49% shooting from the field. One big thing was getting to the free throw line a lot more and getting to the rim a lot more, not just being a standstill three-point shooter. And so this ranking of 19 is kind of me projecting on if he can put that together and have a full season next year of doing that, where he can average about 15, 16 points per game and really break out in that way, then I think he's one of the more impactful young guys in the league. Because, again, we already know what he can do defensively. One of the best perimeter defenders, and he makes such a big impact in that way. But if he can be a guy that also can give you 15, 16 and be a cool third, sometimes second option on some nights, then I think that's super, super, super impactful. At 18, I have Dyson Daniels from the Hawks at 22 years old. We know Dyson had an amazing year last year, won most improved player, finished second in DPOY, all defensive first team, gave you 14, 6, and 4 with 3 steals per game last season. Really getting a full opportunity in Atlanta and showing how good he is, not only as a defender, where he's one of the elite defensive guards, especially when it comes to deflections and getting his hand on the ball. He does that so well. But also, you see some offensive potential in him, where he averaged 14 points per game. His three-point shooting got better. You know, he shot 34% on 3 attempts. Still not an amazing shooter, but that could still get better. His ability to put the ball on the floor and score. His playmaking ability got better. You know, even though he is next to a Trae Young, so his playmaking abilities don't have to be crazy. But I think if he can have a year next year where he builds off of this season, and with the Hawks, with how many weapons the Hawks have and stuff, and if he can be a good secondary ball handler and be a consistent 16, 17 points per game, also giving you the defense that he has, and being a guy that when Trae Young goes to the bench, he can handle the ball a little bit and set guys up. I think Dyson Daniels is going to be such a key piece, and him and Trae Young are going to be like a backcourt of the future in Atlanta, because Daniels has all the potential makings of being a great two-way guard in this league. Not only just, again, being one of the best defensive guards in the league, that already brings him high on the list, but the offensive potential that he has of being a good complementary piece next to Trae Young, I think puts him high on this list as well, because he's still 22 and still has a lot of potential of getting better in the shooting department and the scoring department and the playmaking department as well. At 17, I have Denny Avdia from the Portland Trailblazers at 24 years old. Denny was awesome last season. I made a video about it on the channel about his end of the season, where it was ridiculous. The last couple of years, he's been really good. His last year in Washington, 24, he had a big breakout season, kind of. And last year in Portland, he really became like their guy at the end of the season. And I'm a big fan of Denny, and I'm a big believer that Denny Avdia is going to have a really good season this year. And he might be, I'm not saying he's going to make an all-star team, but I think he's going to be in all-star conversations this year, because I don't think Portland's going to be good enough to get like an all-star, especially with the Western Conference, how crazy it is. But I do think he's going to be in conversation. So if you look at last season, what he did, take out his early part of the year, you go from once the calendar turned 2025 and on, because the start of the year, it was like he started, then he became a bench player, and they were still trying to figure out, use him, is he a 3-and-D, is he a point? Like, they were still kind of trying to figure out what his role is on the team. If you go from January 1st, 2025 on, which is 40 games, he averaged almost 20 points a game, 8 rebounds, 4 assists, and a steal on 49, 37, 77 shooting splits, which is good. You look at the last month of the season, from March 2025 to the rest of the season, in 16 games, he averaged almost 25 points a game, over 10.5 rebounds, 5.5 assists, and a steal on 50, 43, 81 shooting splits. That is insane. 24, 10, and 5. It's not, well, Daniel, 25, 10, and 5 on 50, 40, 80. That's all-star-like numbers. I mean, he had multiple 30-point triple-doubles, 30-point games, big rebound games, 5+ assist games where he hit 3, 4, 5 threes. Like, he was on it, really. And it makes me really excited for what Denny can be, where Portland is in a situation where they have a lot of good young players, but I feel like they don't really have the young guy to build around yet. Like, Scoot Henderson hasn't really worked out so far. Shane Sharp is good and showed potential, but he's had so many injuries, and we don't know how good is he really. Chumani Kamara is more of a defensive guy. Don McClingan is more of like a good starting center. They don't really have, I feel like, their young nucleus, like, star of the future yet. Dame is back, but unfortunately he's not going to play next year. But when Dame comes back, obviously Dame's going to be the number one. But maybe what Denny did last year at the end of the season show that I think maybe he can be the guy. He could be the guy that is the future of the Portland Trailblazers. I mean, have a 6'9" forward that can handle the ball as comfortably as he does. He's really good at getting downhill and getting to the basket. He passes well. He rebounds well. Before he was even a scorer like this, he was an amazing defender. So he has defensive capabilities as well. being a 6'9" kind of point forward that does a little bit of everything. That is the archetype of like an all-star like player. So again, I do think Denny Avdia is going to be in all-star conversations next season because I believe he's going to really build off what he did at the end of last year, come into this year where he doesn't have that first 2 or 3 months where he's still kind of figuring out what am my role? Am I a starter? Am I a bench guy? Am I a defender? Am I a scorer? What am I? Now he knows what his role is. The people on the team should recognize what his role is. And he comes out and I think he's going to have a really good season next year. At 16, we have Jaylen Green from the Phoenix Suns at 23 years old. Now, I know there's not many people on the Jaylen Green train right now after his playoff run last year. It was not good at all. And now he's in Phoenix now. It's a new situation. And a lot of people think Jaylen Green sucks and all that stuff. But let's not let that his first ever playoff series, let that dictate like his whole entire career. Like, yes, he's still a very weird player to gauge as a two guard that is a scorer, but he also is kind of streaky and doesn't really do a lot of the other things that, people do. But I put him higher on the list than a lot of other guys. I think guys below this list can surpass Jaylen Green in their careers because they do a little bit more and stuff. But Jaylen Green's just high on the list because he already has done a lot more than a lot of people below him have done, where he's a consistent 20-point scorer in this league. And that's not easy to do. Again, yes, he might not be the most efficient player. He might not have crazy assist numbers or amazing defender or anything like that. But look at his years. I mean, last year, I think he had a good season last year. 21, 4-3, playing all 82 games. Like, he still is, and he's still 23. He is 23 years old. It's not like this guy's a 28-year-old in year 7 and still trying to figure out, like, he's still 23 years old. He just got off he's just now going to be on his rookie extension. He's still very young. And now he gets to go to a new situation in Phoenix where he's going to play under Devin Booker. He's going to have a defined role as a number 2 to maybe even, he'll be a number 2 on the team, where in Houston, he was still trying to be the number 1. And they were still trying to figure out, is it him? Is it Shangun? Who is it? Is a man going to overtake him? Like, he was still kind of like being treated like the number 1, even though we didn't know if he was the number 1. Now, I feel like for the first time in a little while, maybe his entire career, he has a defined role of being the number 2. You're next to Devin Booker. This is what we need you to do. Go out and do it. So I think Jaylen Green's going to have a solid. I don't think he's going to balloon into a superstar in Phoenix. But I do think now a little bit more structure and a little bit more definity in his role, I think he can have a good season next year. Like, I would not be surprised if Jaylen Green plays the best basketball of his career next year in Phoenix. I wouldn't be too shocked at that. I'm not guaranteeing it, but I do think it's not out of the realm of possibility. I don't think it's going to be crazy if we look at Jaylen Green next year and be like, he's hooping. He's hooping. He's doing pretty solid. Because now he has a defined role. He's next to Devin Booker, which I think maybe can help him a little bit more to play off of another guard, another guy that, that can score on the perimeter, and he could play off of him. And yeah, he's not going to have as much of a leash as he did in Houston, where sometimes in Houston he could just go ISO and be the guy. Sometimes it take a lot of shots. Now in Phoenix is a little bit more, you're next to Devin Booker and you have shooters around you. So we'll see what happens now. But I still think, again, just because he had one bad playoff series, I don't think that just defines Jaylen Green as who he is as a player in his entire career. I still think we need to wait a little bit and see now what next year looks like in Phoenix. At 15, we have Cooper Flagg from the Dallas Mavericks at 18 years old. Like I said about Dylan Harper, it's really hard to put rookies on this list because they haven't played an NBA minute yet. We haven't seen them play an NBA game and what they look like in an NBA type of setting. We see Summer League, but Summer League is so different than what the NBA actually is. But Cooper Flagg, we can already kind of tell me number 1 overall pick. Some people call him generational. And I do think Cooper Flagg is going to be really good in the league. I think I put him at 15 because I think he definitely has a higher ceiling than a lot of the players below him. Maybe even, I think he has potential to be better than a lot of the players above him on this list that we're going to talk about. But I want to put him in the middle, kind of at 15. I think it's a good spot because I think the guys above him have already done enough in the NBA to show like they deserve to be above a rookie that hasn't played an NBA minute yet. But I also think 15 is a good spot for him because I do think he has a higher ceiling than a lot of the guys lower than him. And I do already think he's going to be really impactful as a rookie. being someone that can do it on both ends. He plays hard on both ends. He defends really well. He has the defensive potential, which is one of the big reasons why a lot of people think he's going to be really good. And then offensively, he can just fit in, where he can handle the ball a little bit. He can attack the basket. He makes the right passes and right plays in transition. And even, give him the ball in his hands, he'll make the right pass and play. The three-point shot has gotten better as time go on. He's not really a bucket getter, like, give me the ball, let me go get a bucket real quick off the dribble type of guy yet, but he's still 18 years old. So he still has a lot of ceiling to, get better at and grow. But I do think he's going to come in as a rookie and look not like a rookie. I do think he's going to come in and have one of those rookie years where it's like, man, like this dude looks like he's already in year 3 and he's 18. I do think he's going to have that type of season as a rookie. So I think 15 is just a solid spot for him. But I also wouldn't be too shocked if by the end of the year, I go back and look at this list and be like, dang, how did I put Cooper Flag at 15? Like, he should be a lot higher. At 14, we have Amen Thompson from the Houston Rockets at 22 years old. Amen, I mean, we saw it last year with the Rockets. Like, he's an absolute, like, game breaker, like, 2K, like, player. Like, he's such a interesting, crazy, like, I don't even know how to really say it. But he's like a 2K my player, where you control him. He does so many things on the court. Last year, gave you 14, 8, and 3, a steal and a block on 55% shooting, made all defensive first team as a second-year player in the league. And we've seen all the potential that he has. I mean, defensively, we know he's just a game breaker there. He's going to be consistently one of the better defenders in the NBA, not only with steals and blocks, but also locking up with his size and his body and his unique athleticism. We've already seen how crazy that could be. But also offensively, he has talent where he does so many different things, like putting the ball, getting to the basket. Not many people can stop him getting to the basket because just his body and his athleticism is just nuts. It's insane what he can do. The big question obviously is always going to be the jump shot. Is he ever going to be a good 3-point shooter? And I just think if he becomes a decent 3-point shooter that can hit 1 or 2 sometimes, I think that just unlocks so much for him. And you saw when he became a starter, the Rockets were better and he was better. And now I'm really excited to see a full year of him starting and a full year of him now also next to Kevin Durant, where he can just kind of be a defender that can get to the rim and do all that. Like, he has super high potential. Like, his potential is probably some of the highest on this entire list, which is why I put him high at 14, even though he doesn't have as crazy of numbers as guys like below him. But I think Amen probably has some of the highest potential on this list because of what he can do on both ends and just how much of a game breaker he can be. I'm super excited to see what a full year of him starting and being in this kind of role looks like for Amen next season. At 13, we have Jaylen Johnson from the Atlanta Hawks at 23 years old. Jaylen Johnson's really good. I feel like a lot of people forget about Jaylen Johnson or don't think of Jaylen Johnson this high. Like, a lot of people are probably going to see Jaylen Johnson above guys like Amen and Clue and be like, what? How is Jaylen Johnson? But if you look at what Jaylen Johnson has done the past 2 years, especially last year before he got hurt, Jaylen Johnson, like, could be an all-star next year. If the Atlanta Hawks have a good season and the Hawks have a year where they're, like, top 5 in the East and all that stuff, like, Jaylen Johnson is going to get all-star votes. Is going to be in all-star conversations. He's that good. Last year gave you 19, 10, and 5, a steal and a block on 50% shooting. 19, 10, and 5, a steal and a block on 50% shooting. Like, what? Those are insane numbers. He's a athletic wing that does so much. He can handle the ball. He obviously can get to the rim and can dunk on you. He rebounds solid. He makes the right pass and the right plays a lot of the time. He defensively can do so much with his athleticism and his size, where he can guard wings and go and get steals and block shots, and also a solid 3-point shooter. He's not an insane 3-point shooter, but he's solid enough. Last year, he didn't have a great 3-point shooting season, only 31%, but he's more of, attacking the basket and all that stuff. But Jaylen Johnson is really good, man. He's kind of similar to like a game breaker type of point forward that also can do it defensively. He just has such a unique game to him. So again, like, I think if the Atlanta Hawks have a good season next year, Jaylen Johnson's going to get all-star votes and he's going to be an all-star conversation. Like, I would not be surprised if in the next 2 or 3 years, Jaylen Johnson makes an all-star team because he's just so good and does so many different things on the court. And really, I love his fit next to Trae Young, being a bigger guy that can also handle the ball and can play. With Trae Young's more of a perimeter guy, Jaylen Johnson can get to the rim and do that type of scoring and playmaking right there. Jaylen Johnson's really good. So yeah, I hope we see a healthy Johnson next year. He hasn't really been healthy the last 2 years since he's broken out. But hopefully, if we get a healthy year from him, he's going to be really good next year. At 12, we have FranVagner, from Orlando Magic at 23 years old. Franz had a really good season last year as well. Once Paulo went down with his injury first, like I don't think people remember because it's early in the year, bro. Remember when Paulo Bonero went down with his injury after tearing it up early in the year? FranVagner went on a crazy run where he will look like a star. Like I thought he should have been in the All Star game before he got hurt, but he had a stretch. I'm looking at it right now from the 8th game of the season to the 25th game before he got hurt, where he had a stretch of 18 games where he averaged 27, 5, and 6 with almost 2 steals on 46% shooting. The big question is 3-point shot. He hasn't really been the last 2 years, he's really lost his 3-point shot. He's shot sub 30% for the past 2 seasons. So that's obviously going to be a big thing. If he cannot be a consistently good 3-point shooter, then it's going to be tough for him. But Franz has already shown me last year he gave you 24, 5, and 4 with a steal. Like, he's really good at getting to the rim and finishing at the rim. He defends solid. You can put the ball in his hands. He can make the right plays. Like, I've been a big fan of Franz since he's coming to the NBA, where he had a really good rookie year. And he's gotten, you see the numbers, he's getting better and better every single season. And he's jumping higher and higher and higher. So Franz, I mean, he's a guy that definitely can be an all-star next year. If the Magic, kind of similar to what I said about Jaylen Johnson, like if the Magic have a good season next year in the top 4 in the East, Franz is going to get all-star votes and might make it in. Like, honestly, I thought Franz should have made it last year. I had him on my all-star team before he got hurt, right before the all-star game, and they put Pascal in instead of him. But if he doesn't get hurt, Franz makes the all-star team last season. So, like, Franz is really good. Again, the big question is going to be the three-point jump shot. If his three-pointer never gets back to what it was early in his career, it could be tough. But I still really like Franz as a number 2 next to Paulo, and I think he's one of the more underrated young guys in the league. At 11, we got Scotty Barnes of the Toronto Raptors at 23 years old. Scotty, already an all-star at one point, and back in 2024, he made the all-star team. Last year, didn't have a insane, actually, his numbers actually all dropped in 2025 and 2024. The only thing that went up was his games played, where he played 65 games. But last year he averaged 19, 7, and 5, a steal and a block, 44, 27, 75 shooting. Year before he averaged 28 and 6, a steal and a 1.5 blocks on 47, 34, 78 shooting splits. He made the All-Star team. But Scotty is still really good. I think he's still the centerpiece of the Raptors for the future. Still has a really good game where he's kind of a unique power forward that can kind of be a point guard. Like, he might be like the Raptors point guard next year because we don't know what Emmanuel Quickley looks like. You have RJ and Ingram as 2 guys that also like to handle the ball, but also aren't the playmakers that Scotty Barnes is. Like, Scotty Barnes might actually have to be like a point forward in totality next season because they have a lot of other guys that can handle but aren't playmakers. Like, IQ is more of a scorer more than a passer. RJ's more of a scorer. VI's more of a scorer. And they're going to need someone that can pass the ball and get guys open. So Scotty Barnes might have a good year next year just because he'll be like the full-time point guard. Like, where he'll have the ball in his hands a lot more, and he will have like crazy assist numbers, and we already know we can do defensively. And really, the big question is going to be a 3-point shot. Back in 2024, he had a really good 3-point shooting year. Last year was not good. He had his worst 3-point shooting year of his career. Last year, 27% on 4 attempts. So hopefully if that 3-point shooting can get back to what it was more like in 2024, that's going to do well for him. But I do think Scotty's going to be a guy that's going to be really impactful, going to be always in all-star conversations because of the game he has. He's always going to have the stat lines and just the big impact in Toronto. I'm really hoping for a good year next year for Scotty in Toronto where he really shows like he is the guy for Toronto's future. And I'm interested to see if the Raptors do try some things with him and put him at like the full-time point guard and let him just rock out like that. At 10, we have Alpurn Shangon of the Houston Rockets at 23 years old, just turned 23 the other day. So shout out to Alpy. All-star team last year, gave you 19, 10, and 5 with a steal, 49% shooting from the field. The last 2 years, he's really popped off into being like the centerpiece of the Houston Rockets' future. Now you have Kevin Durant. And I'm very, very, very interested to see what Shangon looks like next year with a Kevin Durant on the team. Where the last 2 years he's been fighting, it's been like, is it him or Jaylen Green? You know, I was saying Shangon's probably the number 1 in the Rockets, but Jaylen Green's maybe the number 1 scoring option, but the offense runs around Shangon. And, you know, now that's full pecking order of like, all right, I'm the number 2 scorer, and Katie's the number 1 scorer on the team. I'm very interested to see how Shangon fits his play style to play with Kevin Durant. I don't think it's going to be such an insane move. Like, he's not gonna have to do anything crazy to change his play style with KD. But I'm very excited to see him now play with an elite scorer like Kevin Durant, because I think it's going to open up a lot more for him. Because now with so much worry about KD on the perimeter and with Shangun with his passing ability, he's a really good passer for a big man. Now, like, him and KD are going to be able to play off each other very, very well. And I'm excited to see how he looks as a scorer, because he's shown ability to score. He has really nice post moves. He's a guy that you give the ball to him in the post and you can let him work. He has a decent mid-range jumper. Not a good three-point shooter. Last year, he had the worst three-point shooting year of his career. I don't think he's ever going to have to become an elite three-point shooter, because his game is so good in the interior. And now that they have Kevin Durant, Fred VanVleet, and all those guys around him, I don't think he really has Jabari Smith Jr. Like, he has so many guys around him that can shoot the three ball well, that I don't think he needs to ever become like a 38% three-point shooter. But I do think if that mid-range can really fall, and if he can really like assert his dominance in the paint and the post, I think he's going to have a really good season next year. And I think we all think the Rockets are going to have a really good regular season. So he definitely can make the All-Star team again because of him and Kevin Durant. I'm really excited to see him and Kevin Durant, how they play off of each other. I think it's going to do a lot for Shangun for the long run if he can figure out how to play next to Kevin Durant. At number 9, we have LaMelo Ball of the Charlotte Hornets at 23 years old. Melo, he was an interesting case on this list because I think personally for me, like 9 is low for LaMelo, because LaMelo Ball should be top 5 on this list. Like, if it was just me personally on like who I like, because I'm a huge LaMelo Ball fan. Like, LaMelo Ball is one of my favorite players in the league. I think he's really, really good. Like, if it was me based on who I like personally, LaMelo would be top 5, no question. LaMelo should be top 5, no question, on this list. But the reason why he's low at 9, even though I think he's better than the guys above, some of the guys above him. Some of the guys we're about to talk about next after LaMelo, I think LaMelo is better than those guys. But I have to put him a little low because of injuries. And I hate using injuries as a thing. Like, I hate talking about injuries. I hate using injuries as something against other players, because I know, like, it's out of their control. It's not something they can control. It's just a random thing that happens, and some people are more injury prone than others. So I hate using injuries as a headline or a storyline for some players. But unfortunately, it's something you can't talk about LaMelo without talking about the injuries. It's just something you can't talk about. The last 3 years, he's played 36 games, 22 games, 47 games. He hasn't played. He only has one season where he's played more than 60 games. That was his All-Star year. He played 75. His rookie year played 51. 75 and 22 where he was an All-Star. Last 3 years, he's combined to play what? I'm trying to do quick. I can't do quick math this quick, but he hasn't played more than 50 games in a season in 3 years. And it really sucks because the Hornets, we talk about the Hornets being so bad and the Hornets like having no hope for the future and when are they ever going to be good again? But a lot of it relies on LaMelo Ball being there and playing, because when LaMelo Ball is playing, they are a better team. That's just a fact. Like, Hornets have had little moments here and there that they've looked fun, and that's because of LaMelo Ball. Like, you look at the numbers. Last year, he gave you 25, 5, and 7. Like, LaMelo Ball was having an all-star, all-NBA like season, and then he got hurt. And that's been, unfortunately, the last 3 years, that's just what LaMelo Ball has been. When he's playing really good, the Hornets look fun and fun. Oh, wait, he's hurt. Now he's going to miss 40 games, and now the Hornets fall into irrelevancy. And it just really, really sucks, man, because it's hard for you to build a team, and it's hard to build a roster and really find what works if your star player isn't out there playing. Like, when we don't know when our star player is going to play. When we don't know if our star player is going to play, our star player hasn't played more than 50 games. So we're going to go 30 plus games every year without having our building block of the future. And we have to rely on a lot of these other guys that aren't as good as him. So again, I think LaMelo Ball, talent-wise, is top 5 on this list. He should be a top 5 player on this list. He's an all-NBA, all-star level, like, that talented. But the injuries have been such a huge part of his career so far that it's tough to put him that high above guys that maybe not be as talented as LaMelo, but have made more of an impact on their team and have made more of an impact in the league than LaMelo has done, because LaMelo has unfortunately had injuries. So I'm really praying for a healthy LaMelo Ball season, because once we get that one healthy LaMelo Ball season, that's going to fix so much in Charlotte, and that's going to put him so much more in the graces of, NBA fans and all-star level and all that stuff. Like, I really hope LaMelo gives us one healthy year next year where he's showing who he really is. At 8, we have Chet Holmgren from OKC at 23 years old. Chet, already an NBA champion. Probably would have been an all-star, all-defensive team, but only played in 32 games last year. The injuries have been a factor for him as well. But we've already seen how much of an impact he makes on a championship and a star-level team, where defensively, he's already one of the better defensive guys in the NBA. Consistently over 2 blocks a game. Going to make all defensive first team for the next couple years as long as he stays healthy. The big thing is the offense, where he has shown a lot of flashes of being a really good offensive player, but it's just he hasn't really put it together yet. But then you also think last year he started off the year really good. Like last year, the first month and a half of the season, I was saying all-star, defensive player of the year, all that stuff. Then he unfortunately gets hurt, hurts his hip, comes back and just didn't have the same impact offensively that he did. But I think now, hopefully with a full healthy offseason, now to kind of get back into that scoring style, I think he's going to be a really big offensive player. And honestly, I think his ranking on this list is the most in terms of impact than stats. Like, I don't think Chet's ever going to be a 25, 10, and 5. Like, I don't think he's ever going to have that. He doesn't have to be that type of scorer. Which, good thing is he's on a team where he has 2 other guys that can score for him. So Chet's Chet's rankings and stuff are never going to be based on numbers. And based on, he averaged 24 and 10 this year on 50, 40. Like, I don't think it's ever going to have to be based on numbers. But if we're looking at impact and how important he is to a team, he's one of the best young players in the game in terms of making an impact. Like, I think he will become the second most important player on the OKC Thunder. Like, I was saying that early, but then what J-Dub did last year in the playoffs and stuff was just so huge. But I do think at some point it's going to turn to Chet Holmgren being the second most important player on OKC because his defense is so good right now, and he makes such an impact on that side of the ball. If he could become just a good offensive player, like I don't think he's ever going to average 25, but I think if he can consistently get to about 18 to 20 points per game while bringing you the elite defense that he does, that's all-star like, that's all defensive like, that's like huge impact. And that's like winning basketball player. Like, he's probably going to have like be the most winningest young player on this list at some point because he makes such a big impact on so many different other assets than just being a scorer. So that's why Chet's this high on this list. It's never going to be about stats for him. It's going to be about how he's winning games and what plays he's making on the court to help his team be better. At 7, we have Evan Mobley from the Cleveland Cavaliers at 24 years old. Emo had a really good year last year. All-star, defensive player of the year, made All-NBA second team, averaged 18, 9, and 3, over 1.5 blocks, 55, 37, 72 shooting splits. Really good. I think I put him over Chet because he had a better season than Chet last year. All-NBA second team and defense player of the year is great. But I think there's a chance that Chet Holmgren becomes better than Evan Mobley at some point. I do think they're in a similar path, though. But Mobley, what he did last year, his breakout season where he became more aggressive offensively and what he did defensively and all that stuff is really good. And who knows, at this point, why can't he jump and be a 20-point per game scorer next season? I mean, the Cavs are going to have, another offseason, hopefully, of him getting better and just empowering him even more to do more things. Because I still think there's more aggression to come. I mean, he still only took a little bit less than 13 shots a game last year, which for his career, he averages 12 shots a game. So it's not like his numbers went up crazy, he went from 11 shots to 16 or anything. Like, he only went up like almost 2 shots a game. You have to think that there's more to him than that. Like, he definitely could be a 14, 15 shots per game type of guy. And if he could do that while still providing the elite defense, one of the best defensive players in the game, while doing that, like, he's going to be a perennial all-star, all defensive first team type of guy for the Cavaliers. And he's probably maybe the most important player to what the Cavaliers are doing right now. And them being good, if the Cavs can make it to a finals run next year and make it far in the Eastern Conference, it's going to be because Evan Mobley. And he takes another jump offensively while adding in the elite defense that he has. So Mobley has a lot of potential to be really good and really impactful in this league. So that's why he's this high on this list. At 6, we have Tyrese Maxiell from the Philadelphia 76ers at 24 years old. Last year, unfortunately, the Sixers just had a really horrible season, a nightmare year. So Maxey didn't get as much love and praise, even though his numbers did go up. He averaged 26 a game last year, 3 rebounds, 6 assists, almost 2 steals. The shooting numbers did go down. The efficiency went down. That's also because Joel Embiid didn't really play and Paul George was not good. So Maxey, there's a lot of times when Maxey was out there by himself, had to force up a lot of shots. So you understand why the efficiency went down a couple points last year than what it was in the previous years. But Maxey, I mean, he had a really big season in 2024, All-Star, MIP, really, really good, All-NBA conversations type good. And I mean, he's still a guard that really explosive, really fast, really solid 3-point shooter, can attack and get downhill as well. And his playmaking has gotten a whole lot better. Went from being a guy that was more of a scorer early on in his career to last 2 years, he's averaged over 6 assists per game. So Maxey has really found his role in the league. I'm very excited to see him back and hopefully have a fully healthy year, because he also got hurt at some point during the year last season too. He only played 52 games, the lowest of his career. So I'm really excited. Hopefully we get a healthy year Maxey next year. And obviously, if Joel Embiid is back, he's going to be so much better, because him playing off of Joel Embiid, even Joel Embiid at 70% still garners so much attention that Maxey is just going to get so many opportunities. That's how good he was in 2024 when he became the full starting point guard after James Harden left, because he was so good. And last year, he just built off it. But very excited to see him back. Hopefully have a fully healthy next season. And if Joel is there, he's going to be just that good again, where he's going to be an all-star. And I mean, he could have been an all-star last year if he didn't get hurt. Like, even with the Sixers being that bad, he still was in all-star conversation, still could have made the team, So like Maxey, just really good all-star-like player. And I'm very excited, hopefully, to see if we can have a fully healthy season next year. At 5, we have Jalen Williams of the OKC Thunder at 24 years old. J-Dub, championship last year, second best player on a championship team. Last year, averaged 21, 5, and 5 with a steal. Made All-NBA third team, All-Defensive second team, was an All-Star. Really good. And I think I put him high on this list, even though there's some guys that maybe make more impacts on both sides than J-Dub, even though J-Dub was All-NBA and All-Defensive team. That's insane to think about. But J-Dub has so much more room to grow, too. Like, he did this, 21, 5, and 5, All-NBA third, All-Defensive second team. That's an insane season. While there's still a lot of things that he can be more efficient in three-point shooting. He can be a more efficient, getting to the basket more. Like, he could still be better. Like, there's still things he can get a lot better at. And he still already was an All-NBA and All-Defensive team player. Like, there's a chance that J-Dub can be like a All-NBA, like a perennial All-NBA type of guy. Like, there's a chance that he's going to be even better next year. He can give you a 24, 5, and 5 on good efficiency, make All-NBA. Like, he could be a perennial All-NBA guy, which is not something that you can see often in a guy this young, where he's not even the best player in his team. He's not even the best player in his team. And we're talking about potential perennial All-NBA type of player. Like, isn't that nuts to think about? Yeah, you have to be really, really good to not be the number one, not have the most opportunity on your team, and still be an All-NBA type of player. Like, you got to be really good. And J-Dub is really that good. His game is just so nice. He just does so many different things. He can handle the ball. He attacks a lot downhill, a solid mid-range game. Three-point shooting is still solid, while also being a good defender on the perimeter as well with long arms, and can make the right passes and plays. Like, he just does everything so well, it feels like, on the court. And yeah, like, there's still so many things he can get better at, and he's already like this good. So J-Dub, he's just only going to get better and better with time. And that trio of him, Shea, and Chet are just going to be filthy for the next few years to come in the NBA. At number 4, we have Kade Cunningham for the Detroit Pistons at 23 years old. Last year, had a big breakout season, gave you 26, 6, and 9. Made All-NBA third team, All-Star, got MVP votes, led the Pistons back to the playoffs. He was amazing. And finally, I was kind of thinking, like, finally, Kade Cunningham's going to have the big year, because I've been a big fan of Kade ever since Oklahoma State, since he got drafted. Been a big fan of Kade. I think he's had a really good career so far, but of course, he was on the Pistons that were not good. So people kind of dismissed Kade and thought, he's not even that. But last year, he finally had his year where he showed everybody, hey, I'm Kade Cunningham. Like, this is who I am. And really good. And I think he's just going to continue to keep growing. I mean, I love his game. A 6'6" point guard that does so much in the court, plays at his own pace, really good at getting to the rim. The mid-range jumper is solid. The three-point shot has become solid. Defensively, he's going to give you stuff. The playmaking is really good. The only thing is just cutting down on turnovers. He averaged a lot of turnovers last year, and sometimes he tries to make a lot of plays that don't really work. So if he can cut down a little bit on the turnovers, he'll be money. Like, he's a guy that he's going to be an all NBA type guy for a long time in this league. He's going to be an all-star for a long time in this league. I was saying this before even last year, back in 2024, when the Pistons were the worst team in the league. I was saying Kade Cunningham is going to be an all NBA. He's going to be an all-star in this league. And he did that last year, and he's only going to get better and better here as the Pistons grow and as he grows into, finding his role on this team and figuring out his way to be a superstar. He's only going to get better and better. And he's honestly one of the young guys that if I'm starting a team and trying to find a young player to build around, Kade Cunningham's near the top of my list in that, because I love having a big point guard that can do all the things that Kade Cunningham does, doing it in such a smooth way and doing it in a way where it just impacts winning and makes his guys around him better. Kade is really good, and I'm predicting another All-NBA type season from him next season. At number 3, we have Paulo Bonero with the Orlando Magic at 22 years old. Paulo, I love Paulo so much. Paulo's one of my favorite guys in the league. He's quickly become one of my favorite guys in the league. And I honestly do feel like he's one of the more under-talked about young future stars in the league. Like Paulo, I think Paulo Bonero has a chance of being a top 10 player in this league not too long from now. Like, I feel like he's done everything you kind of would want when it comes to, we set so many expectations of number 1 overall picks, and when they don't hit them, we bash them right away. But when they do hit them early on, we put them into the sun and into the moon. Of like, this guy's going to be a top 2 player in the league, all that. Yet with Paulo, it feels like no one talks about him as much as they definitely should. Because Paulo is one of those guys where you talk about number 1 overall picks, you talk about expectations. I feel like he's done everything you could ask of a guy that came out as a number 1 overall pick, where he had an amazing rookie year, should have been unanimous rookie of the year, gave you 20. Year number 2, he makes the All-Star team, leads his team to the playoffs. It was 1 win away from leading his team to the second round. Like, if it wasn't for Donovan Mitchell going absolutely nuclear in that Game 7, when their backs were against the wall, the Magic would have been in the second round. As a 21-year-old, he would have led his team to a round 2 appearance in his second year. Then last year, he starts off the year insane, 50-point game against the Pacers and all that. Unfortunately, he gets hurt. But if Paulo does not get hurt last year, he's All-NBA. He makes All-NBA. And he leads his team maybe to another top 5 seed in the East again, and maybe out of the first round again. Like, Paulo, he averaged 26, 7, and 4 last year. Paulo is really that nice. And it feels like people aren't looking at him as one of the top, people do the list of, top 10 players in the next 5 years and stuff. And I feel like Paulo doesn't get as nearly as much love as he should, because Paulo is really that good. And I'm expecting him to, well, one, I'm hoping for health. He hasn't really been an injury-prone guy. Last year, unfortunately, he had the torn oblique early in the season. But I hope that he has a healthy year next year. And if he does have a healthy season, he's gonna be an All-NBA player. I'm calling it right now. If Paulo Bonero is healthy next year, he's gonna make All-NBA. He's gonna make All-NBA because he just is that good. And I think the Magic are gonna have a really solid season with the Eastern Conference being wide open with the acquired Desmond Bane. I think it's only gonna help the Magic and it's only gonna help Paulo. And I think he's gonna have an All-NBA season next year because he is that good. Number 2, we have Victor Wembanyama from the Spurs at 21 years old. Not really too much to say about Wemby. He's only played 117 games in the NBA and has already shown that he's going to be one of the best players in the league very, very, very soon, if he's not already one of the best players in the league. Last year, gave you 24, 11, and 3, almost 4 blocks and a steal. Made All-Star. Unfortunately, the blood clot, he probably was going to win Defensive Player of the Year, make All-NBA, and all that stuff. But hoping that he has he's fully cleared, so I'm expecting him to have a big year. And I think, I don't know, with what we've seen from Wemby already, and we've seen with the work ethic and his mentality and all that stuff, I wouldn't be too shocked if Wemby has an insane season next year, where he comes out and he's just like, oh man, if the Spurs, I don't know how good the Spurs are going to be. I don't know how good the Spurs are going to be. They're definitely probably going to be a playing team or something like that. But if the Spurs are better than expected, and the Spurs are a top 6 team in the Western Conference at one point, Victor Wembanyama is going to get MVP votes. I wouldn't be surprised if Victor Wembanyama gets MVP votes next year. Because, one, the media is already super high on Wemby and already want him to be a legend right now. Where it takes time, obviously. But also, he's just that impactful. He just does so many things. He's a game breaker on the court. Where he shoots, he scores in the paint. He blocks shots at an elite rate. He's an elite defender. Maybe the best defender in the league already. He does so much. And I think if that offense could become a little bit more consistent in terms of him using his different skill set, because last year he took a lot of threes. That was a big thing. A lot of people were talking about, why is he taking so many threes and all that stuff? Because he can, and he shot decent, like almost 9 attempts, shooting 35%. It's pretty good for a guy shooting that many threes. But if he can use that leverage to also get into the paint more and can find a good balance between those two things, he's going to be unstoppable. He's already is dang near kind of unstoppable in a sense. You make that happen where he finds a good balance between his shooting and his, his paint touches, he's going to be unstoppable. You're not going to be able to touch him at all. Combined with the defense and all that stuff, he's on like the track to be one of the best players in the league already. So yeah, Wemby at number 2, that's just not even a question of him being this high on this list. And at number 1, you have Anthony Edwards of the Minnesota Timberwolves at 20. Somehow he's still only 23 years old. He's going to be 24 in a couple of days, actually. But somehow he's still this young. And I mean, kind of self-explanatory. Like, he has just been really good since he's come into the league. I mean, multi-time, 3-time All-Star, the only guy on this list only guy under 25 right now that's a multi-time All-NBA type player. Number 1 on the Minnesota Timberwolves team that has been to the conference finals for multiple seasons. We've seen what he did last year. He gave you 27, 5, and 4 with a steal on a ridiculous 39% shooting from 3 on 10 attempts per game. Just insane. And we've seen every year he's gotten better and better. We've seen the mentality and the work ethic that he does have and that he wants to be great. He wants to be a legend and all that stuff. And he's doing it right now before our eyes. I mean, he's already in conversations of being a top 10 player in the game at this young. So, like, he's a no question number 1 player on this list. And I'm very excited to see how he looks next year. I mean, you assume next year the thing that's going to pop for him is going to be the playmaking. That's really the only thing that's really holding him back a little bit is his figuring out how to make plays and making the right reads and all that stuff, because now he's getting double teamed a lot more. And with Mike Conley getting a little bit older, and we still have a big question mark on where Rob Dillingham is going to be, especially with today's NBA where, the star players are primarily the point guards, even if they're not really point guards. Like, Ant isn't really naturally a point guard, but Minnesota's going to use him like a point guard because today's NBA, it's like, just give the ball to your star player as much as possible. So why not put our star player at point guard? So Ant's going to have to learn how to be kind of like a point guard, even if he's never going to have to average 9 assists per game. But if he can just be a guy that makes the right play and give you 5 to 6 assists consistently at times and make his other guys around him better a little bit, then he'll be fine. And I think he's going to do that. I think that's the thing he's probably going to be working on the most this offseason. And I'm very excited to see how Ant continues to keep going and progress in his career, because he's just such a elite player, man. That's just so rare to see at this age, how elite he is. So yeah, like, it's A-Man, man. He's so talented. And yeah, it's gonna be it for today. Hope you guys enjoy. Let me know in the comment section below your personal guys and lists. This is my personal list. You're okay to disagree with it. So if you have any, players that you think should be high, low, what you think are the top 25, let me know in the comment section below. I don't know how this video is almost an hour. That's kind of crazy, but hey, I guess a long form content for you guys. Once again, if you like the content around here, consider subscribing, liking, turning on notifications, doing all stuff like that. I really appreciate it a whole lot. And yeah, I'll see you guys tomorrow.